Position preview number 3 for the Pacers season, coming up with small forwards. To me, probably the most intrigue of any position coming today. Aaron Nesmith, Jarace Walker, and Johnny Furphy under the microscope on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, our third position preview episode. We've done centers, we've done power forwards. It's time for the wings, young players, all of different levels of intrigue or skill development this season. Aaron Nesmith, established good. Can he be great? Jarace Walker on the come up. Johnny Furphy, unknown. So much to get to with those three guys today. As you know, we'll do it via the way I used to do with Kalen Cooper this year by myself. One stat, one skill, one question about each player that will either be season defining or team defining in some way this year. This is my favorite position group, I think, that we're going to do for this series. Reminder, Locked On has a show for every team in pro sports. If you're a Colts fan, after crazy Colts game yesterday, Locked On Colts does exist. You should check it out. 2-0 for the first time in 16 years. Okay, let's start with Aaron Nesmith today, the starter, and honestly, the least intrigue of these three guys in terms of it's more established what he is, where he's going, and yet I still always leave myself wondering with Aaron Nesmith, what's next? Is there another year? Because every single year, he's been better than the year before with the Pacers. He adds more off the dribble pop, more game slowing down kind of abilities, moving the ball, more something comes his way in a way that makes him a better player, in a way that makes him fit better with the way they play, something. He keeps adding to his game, and now you wonder, one, if he can keep doing that, which seems reasonable so far. 5 years in, he's had no problem with it, and he's going to turn 26 right before the season starts. But two, what that looks like in a season where different things will be asked of him as Tyrese Haliburton and Miles Turner are no longer on the Pacers, and that is why I actually want to start with two questions for him, which is cheating. But really, the question is defining for his whole season. What do little improvements look like for him now, right? Because could this be a plateau? And to be clear, that's not a bad thing at all. Aaron Nesmith is very good, right? True shooting percentage last year for Aaron Nesmith, 65%, almost 10% over league average. That's insanely good on like a moderately high 17.5% usage. 43% from deep. He only played 45 games, but he was money, right? Better finishing inside the arc. Again, that's 3 straight years of improvement there. Just a money efficiency player. Really good defender. They put him on Jalen Brunson in the conference finals. He guards wings all the time. If he was 6'7", he'd be like a $40 million player, right? Really good player. What is next? Is this a plateau of a really, really good starter, or is this a guy who can add something to his game? And that's where we'll get to more so with the skills and stat part of this discussion. But I wonder it with Aaron Nesmith more than other players, just because it always seems like, okay, this is what he is. This is the box I want to put Aaron Nesmith in. And then there's something else. Last year, to me, it was finishing and his like general drive past the defender kind of game. From 0 to 3 feet last year, over 70% for the first time with the Pacers. From 3 to 10 feet, over 50% for the first time of his career. He became way better, more controlled and more balanced in the paint, right? So when he ran it, the defender ran him off the line, easy basket. What's next with all that? And that kind of bleeds into all my upcoming stuff. And I actually have a second question that we'll get to later. I cheated a little bit with Aaron Nesmith. My one stat for Aaron Nesmith, this was advertised, but not hugely because he only played 45 games. He was 50-40-90 last year. That's not the actual stat. That's just a lead into what I want to get to. Like, he was that efficient last season, 50.7% from the field. Also, I'm going to make my case that 50-40-90 should be 2-point percentage, 3-point percentage, free throws, not just regular field goal percentage. I don't want to double count the threes. Regardless, if you do it the traditional way, 50.7% field goals, 43% on threes, and 91.3% at the foul line. Like, massively impressive efficiency for Aaron Nesmith. And that's not even the stat that this section is about. Instead, it's about the fact that to do that, his threes continue to be assisted at about the same rate. I've used this stat for some other players, but without Tyrese Haliburton, it's a very interesting question, right? Last year, 96.4% of his threes were assisted, 98.6% the year before, 96.5% his first year with the Pacers, mid to high 90s. Got it. But his 2-point shots actually was the second most of his career in terms of how many of those were assisted, 77%, 7% more than 2 years ago. His efficiency went up. It's very easy to say this is good. I made a similar case with some other players as we date back through the player position previews, but can Aaron Nesmith self-create more than that and still maintain his just like absolutely absurd 50-40-90 level? I mean, it's not going to be 50-40-90. Well, maybe it is, but like that's very unusual. It's a very rare club. Can he maintain that efficiency while still taking away from some of his rate of assisted shots, right? That would make him even better. That would make him a guy who could, off the bounce, beat his defender and do something with it in a way that we haven't really seen from Aaron Nesmith before. Even some of those shots I described earlier, where he catches, he faces up, he's got a little bit of space, and his defender freaks out. Uh-oh, that's Aaron Nesmith. He makes 45% of these almost. I got to run out to cut him off. Nesmith will fake it, put it on the floor, and he can hit a midi, or he'll take one dribble and get all the way to the cup. Oftentimes, that still leads to an assist. It's only one dribble. It happens so fast that counts as assisted. Those might still keep happening, but I wonder if there's a little bit of he catches, he takes a dribble around a handoff and dribbles toward the basket with his next dribble, or if there's some more nuance to his beating a guy off the bounce that leads to more there that doesn't detract from what he's already great at. And this is the specific season where it's okay if there's some detraction, right? They want him to explore that studio space and get better, I would think. But I wonder what the trade-off's going to be for Aaron Nesmith of his continual rise in efficiency versus kind of adding some skill to his palette of finishing for plays, right? Especially when it went up for twos. Will it make him a better player if he could find a different balance there? My one skill for Aaron Nesmith is similar to that. It's a shot creation thing. Passing. What is the next level of passing for Aaron Nesmith? Because this is the kind of like general one word, and it's lazy to just say passing, that I would say could be the next step, air quotes, for Aaron Nesmith, right? I do not think of him as some massively creating passer. His assist percentage is quite low, 6.6% last season, right? He's not thought of as that kind of player, and that's fine. He's not supposed to really create shots for others, but even against a cracked defense, he kind of is taking his own shots, right? He's not really a setup kind of guy, and that's what I kind of wonder if this season he can take a step forward in that way. If there's an assist number or passing development that could really level him up. His season high, this blew my mind. 45 games for Aaron Nesmith last year. His season high in assists was 3. That's the second. Only his rookie year, he didn't get 3 assists in a game, right? That he had more assists in a playoff game. He had 4 in a playoff game. Like, I don't think of Aaron Nesmith as a passer, but like just generally keeping the ball moving, you're going to have some nights where you end up with 5 or 6 if the right guy's making the shots. A little bit more ball, like actual creating pass pop from him would go a long way. It would go a long way for a lot of players, obviously, but I do wonder if there's something there that has not been unlocked or has not been asked to be unlocked, more specifically, that could arise for Aaron Nesmith this season in a way that would make him better, and that would also add to his game without requiring him to becoming a more unassisted player or anything like that. And so that is my Aaron Nesmith general thoughts. But my real question outside of like, is this a plateau or not? Because you could ask that of anybody in theory, is can Aaron Nesmith play some other positions? Like, is this a real thing the Pacers can rely on? And I ask this a lot because in the NBA now, small ball 4s exist, right? They are a reasonable thing. He's probably a little smaller than most guys who routinely get that task, but it's a thing. If you can get away with a guy who's small at the 4, but he's still skilled enough to play, that's fine, right? And Rick Carlisle talks about skilled size a lot. Aaron Nesmith would be undersized at the 4, but he's skilled enough to do it. Can he play some 4? Does it make sense for him to play some 4? And that leads to the other part of this, which is something I have always talked about, something I wondered if they'd go to, and they did for like 5 minutes in the playoffs last year. Aaron Nesmith at the 2. And this is why some passing or some more off the dribble pop would go a long way if he's playing a guard spot. Because he's 6'5", can he be more guardy? What does that allow the Pacers to do from a lineup perspective? To be clear, I think for the Pacers specifically, if you're an off-ball guard, if you're like a 2, 3, or 4, it's kind of interchangeable, right? It's not like they're the same position. You're guarding different things. You're doing different things. Your interactions are still different, but it's not like so crazy different that it's unheard of that this player could play the role. But it is different enough that I wonder, and the size element of this makes me wonder, can we see a Aaron Nesmith the 2 or the 4 this year? He's obviously very good as a 3. He's a good player. What is the next step for Aaron Nesmith, and what are those steps without one Tyrese Haliburton or Miles Turner, changing the dynamics in both the backcourt and the front court? Does that open up anything for him? Let's go to Jarace Walker, where you're going to hear a stat that you have not heard anywhere else before as we trudge into year 3 for the young wing. Before we get to any of that, we got to talk about FanDuel. The NFL season is here. The Colts keep winning, and FanDuel is making sure you are ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer right now. New customers on FanDuel can bet just $5 if you win. How about that? You'll win $300 in bonus bets that you can use across the app on a variety of things. Many people love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, even jumping in as the live action unfolds. It makes every game even more exciting. For whatever reason you're watching, keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, watching your favorite team, whatever you're doing, it's quick and easy. And it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays is using FanDuel. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making it your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen, Locked On Kings. Dennis Schroeder. I always say his name wrong. Balling for Germany again. Watching Germany in Eurobasket is one of the great traditions of offseason stuff. That team is awesome. Daniel Tice, ex-Pacer. They win the gold. They beat Turkey in the finals. Dennis Schroeder, tournament MVP. More on Locked On Kings. I believe he's going to start at point guard there, and I am routinely higher on him than basically everybody else, even though his NBA resume is kind of like, but he's a good player. Okay, let's go to Jarace Walker, and I would like to start with this. I'll actually dive into this more as a topic this week. So much talk about Mathurin, rightly, and so much talk about new centers and all sorts of things that'll be different. I think Jarace Walker has become the player I am most interested in this coming season. And the offseason has evolved in that way, and Mathurin's gotten the spotlight because he's going to maybe see the most changes, and he's in a contractual spotlight right now. And there's new players, there's new everything. Jarace year 3, guaranteed role, consistent minutes. Like, if this is going to be a thing, it's going to have to happen this year because he's extension eligible next year, and the guys are going to come back, and his role might change again. I'm so interested to see what he does. That video, especially, like I already had been thinking this a little bit, like, man, am I not talking about Jarace Walker enough? And then that video of him working with Pascal hit the internet. I thought it's just like, I'm so interested to see what he becomes because I have seen many instances of Jarace Walker that make me go, man, I have like no questions about this guy's work ethic. Like he wants to be a good player. And generally, I'll get to another point here, but I just have a lot of things I've seen from Jarace that make me think and still believe in what he can be or could be. And I've made this comp a million times. And to be clear, if he hits this level, it's like a 99.9th percentile outcome. I'm not saying this is like a realistic thing. It's possible though. Like the whatever percent chance he's OG Anunoby would make me like never give up on him. And that chance might be super low, but I'm really interested in Jarace this year. Really interested. And so let's run through some stuff that I think is going to be key in his season, starting with the stat that I have talked about a lot, but I finally wanted to put a number to. The stat is 84%, and that is the percentage of Jarace Walker's turnovers that are live ball turnovers last year. And that is, to be more specific, I didn't quite explain what I meant correctly. 50 live ball turnovers for Jarace Walker last year. 42 of them were bad passes, either out of bounds or just a bad pass to the other team. That's what I meant from the percentage. 84 of his live ball turnovers were of the bad pass variety. If you've been listening to Locked On Pacers for a long time, you've heard me describe one of my biggest frustrations with something Jarace Walker does is he'll have the ball, he'll be handling it, or he'll be kind of initiating, and he'll make a great read. He sees that his teammate is open and cutting. He sees that he has created an angle by doing something. He just sees something that's a good, like, not a standard pass, just like throw it to the wing kind of pass, like a good, this might lead to a bucket level pass. And then he just throws the laziest one-handed crap or just like some flat-footed dart over something. It's just like you had it, and then something like got lost in translation with his motor skill to make the pass. Like, just make it. This maybe is a passing thing, But if he can just lock in from start to finish on those exchanges, it would make him so much better because we all remember this. It's only been 2 years. It feels like a long time ago. Like when he got drafted, a big point of like, oh, wow, about him was, yeah, he's like a forward who can really defend, but like, man, he can be a point forward. He played point guard, in high school, blah, blah, blah. And like that stuff that happened. And his assist percentage is fine. I don't think he's a bad passer. There's just so many of those where his turnover rate is still higher than his assist rate. That's in terms of like the advanced stuff. I believe he's still averaging more assists per game than turnovers per game, but just as a percentage of the team's numbers, his turnover rate's higher than his assist numbers. I think that keeping those passes together, keeping those live ball turnovers down would go such a long way for him because his efficiency's good. 59% true shooting last year, right? He's putting the ball in the basket at a good rate, even with a low free throw rate, and that's a whole nother conversation for him. He's got some stuff on offense. I, as I'll get to in a second, think he's a better offensive player right now than a defensive player. If he can get those turnovers, and specifically those very frustrating and just like you had it level play turnovers, it would go such a long way in making him better. And I'm very interested to see what that step's going to look like for him this season. My one skill for Jarace Walker is sort of related to that because turnovers are a product of being a shot creator, right? The general thought, if you're not Tyrese Haliburton, who's maybe one of the best passers in the league, not even maybe, he definitely is, if you pass more and you are creating for your teammates more, you have a lot of assists, you're going to turn it over more. Obviously, like that's the Trae Young argument, and it's true. But the question about turnovers for Jarace is kind of a question of like, can he be a creator too? And I think my one skill coming from that is seeing Jarace Walker involved in pick and rolls. And I want you to use your imagination. We just described a guy, and by we, I mean me, I'm one person. We just described a guy who can pass and has a history of being a lead ball handler for teams, albeit not at a professional level, right? But also think about Jarace Walker, who made 40% of his threes last year and has improved dramatically as a catch and shoot player and is like just totally a four-man right now in the NBA. What role in the pick and roll do you think Jarace would be better? Handling the ball around a screen as this jumbo creator or setting the screen with his big, broad shoulders and clearing space for someone else? I could make the argument for both. And so I didn't put down either one for my one skill. Do some of both. If I'm the Pacers, I want to see that, right? If he's going to be at the bench, great. Set a screen, get TJ McConnell more of a head of steam going towards the rim, figure out where you need to go as Jarace Walker to get a shot. Is that towards the basket? Is that towards the three-point line? What does the defense do that influences that decision, right? I'd be very interested to see how he can develop there. Same time, great. You're out there with Jay Huff or Isaiah Jackson or whoever. You catch it, have them set a screen for you. Can you get a three out of it? Can you hit them? What does that look like? I'm not saying point forward Jarace 24% usage, but what part of the pick and roll is better for him? One, because that really dictates who he should play with. And two, can he do both? What is that? How will those help him unlock other skills? Both ends of pick and rolls for Jarace Walker this year. Okay, my one question for Jarace. I said something earlier that I really want to drill down on. My big question, can I please buy the defense? Like really buy it? And I've said this on this podcast so many times that many of you who listen a lot are probably used to this. So many times I get the comment when Jarace isn't playing, oh, well, the Pacers defense sucks tonight. Why doesn't Rick put in Jarace Walker? I don't think Jarace was a positive defender last year, or like not quite, right? And that was a lot of the sales pitch when they picked him is he can be a huge, awesome defender. And I think he can be and should be that at some point, right? Chad Buchanan, their GM, likened him to a linebacker when they picked him. He looks like one. I've stood close to him, right? I think he can be, and honestly, I don't know if I'd go to Will, but pretty close. Like Will be a pretty good or above average defender, right? Look at him. The size is there. The foot speed is there. It's just got to happen. There's something missing with physicality, with staying in front of guys, and that's part of being young. With the general read of team defense, that just hasn't happened for him yet. Defensive rating for the Pacers last year was worse with him on the floor than on. Like, did I say that correctly? They had a worse defensive rating when Jarace Walker played than when he was on the bench, right? And I'm not just specifically saying that's him. That could be the lineups he's a part of. Regardless, I really want to, and if I'm the Pacers, I want to walk out of the season going, yes, this is a for sure going to be positive defender. And if the draft, if the draft scouting report hits a potentially very good one, right? He has the size for it. And that's why I thought the Pacers were right to enter last season. And Rick Carlisle kept saying this about Jarace Walker: physicality, hit guys, hit them first, right? Because that would go a long way for him. He was a little too finesse his first year. I think he got better at that stuff, especially after late December, when he even admitted in interviews, yeah, I've had kind of an up and down year. He got a lot better at that kind of stuff. His effort was all the time. He's running the floor. Channel that into great defense, and he would look like just an awesome player and one that you really want to invest in as the Pacers. It's just got to happen. And I think it will. And here's why. I mentioned this earlier with his work ethic stuff. I think Jarace Walker, one, has really grinded to get better at skills that he knows are key for him. The jump shot, the physicality last year, all sorts of stuff. I think and wonder, because I remember Ben Mathurin after his second year kind of having a come to Jesus moment of realizing, okay, I'm not the best player on my team. My whole life I have been, I'm not now. I don't think Jarace had to have that, but Jarace, in the same way Mathurin had to kind of take in his situation and heed advice of the NBA ecosystem, I think you really see Jarace Walker do that, right? He's very good at taking in tips from coaches. He applies what is told of him. He really wants to be great, from what I can see, especially. I think Jarace had a moment last year or maybe even this offseason where you can see him in his interactions with others where he kind of realized the vets were right. And what I mean by that is we've heard from every veteran under the sun on the Pacers team. I had to wait my turn, and a lot of them did. It's what makes the Pacers so special in a lot of ways. But Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, TJ McConnell, you go up and down the list, guys who weren't right away in the league, weren't playing that much, or had to go to the G League like Jarace did, saying it's not a big deal. Your path is what you make it. And I think he realized last year as he kept getting better and better, they were right. Because he's focused so much on improvement, he's now playing more. He played 75 games last year, right? Now, will he continue to do the things that veterans tell him that are required to make him the player that the Pacers could have or hope to have? And I think he totally can do that. I think he's, what we've seen of his offseason looks right. And I'll be curious what he does and how willing he is to do things that make him even better this year, because I currently have no questions about his dedication to improvement. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it is this year. And similar to Nesmith, the same question. Positions. Can you play more positions than just the 3/4? He was a 4 coming in. He was a 3 last year. Is there some 5 in there? Is there some 2 in there? What is this actually going to look like for Jarace Walker? Johnny Furphy, welcome to the spotlight here. Let's close out talking about the youngest wing for Locked On Pacers. Before we get to that, let's talk about 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors, each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients, all with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. Many people love how portable they are. Big taste in this tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost whenever you need it. So many flavors that are very popular. They're all refreshing. They give you that quick lift before your busy day. It's perfect. Whatever you want to try next, they have got it. And it kicks in fast. It's sugar-free. You don't have to worry about crashing later. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine flavor an upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get your favorites that you love, or be bold and try something new in-store at home. Visit 5-Hour Energy with the number 5.com or check out on Amazon today. Back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day, or second listen. Many things going on in the NBA these days, but the Knicks went a little crazy with some signings. Malcolm Brogdon, an ex-Pacer, plus they worked out Thomas Bryant, and they signed Landry Shamet, and they're probably going to have to sign their second-round pick, and Garrison Matthews is headed there. A lot going on. They're probably, and by probably I mean almost certainly, going to have to make a trade before the season starts of a first-round pick from last year. And Locked On Knicks will tell you all about it. It's been very well laid out, and Gavin will do a great job explaining it. Okay, let's talk about Furphy. And Furphy gets the token boring stat, but for good reason award this year. Every season in the preview or review section, when Caitlin and I would do this, there's always one player that just a very boring games played stat is actually revealing for that player. And in this year's case, I think it's Furphy. I think the stat for Furphy for this season is games played, because it will tell us a lot about the Pacers season one way or the other. What I mean by that is if you knew right now that Johnny Furphy would play 80 games this season, and let's be more clear, games in the rotation. Say he plays 80 games and 55 to 65 of them, he's in the Pacers rotation. That to me, and there's obviously a lot of middle ground between these, but that to me would likely signal one of two things happen. One would be someone in front of him got really hurt and missed a lot of time. And that's very possible. That's how Jarace Walker played a lot last year. There were injuries all over the roster. Aaron Nesmith missed a bunch of time. Lots of guys missed time, right? It's possible that injuries would lead Furphy to playing and being in the rotation. And he could be in the rotation if a 4 gets hurt, if a 3 gets hurt, or if a 2 gets hurt. So lots of chances for minutes. But the other way Johnny Furphy plays a ton of games next year is that he's just good now. And that's like, look, Summer League is Summer League. Don't get too pilled on it. But like, he was quite good in Summer League. And he took steps forward in the way the Pacers needed him to in Summer League. And he showed enough last year of just like, fighting defender and good rebounder and knows what to do. And Rick Carlisle's like, yeah, I'm going to play you in the rotation in our first month of the season in a game we need to win. Like, they trust him. So maybe that's why he's playing a lot. He's just good. And they literally have to take someone out of the rotation so they can play more Johnny Furphy. That would be a very good thing for the Pacers. So if he plays a lot of games, and specifically a lot of games in the rotation, games with 10 plus minutes, maybe more apt stat here, that would generally mean the Pacers season was awesome and they're feeling really good about their depth at the wing, or really bad. Someone got hurt and it really hurt them and they had to rely on Furphy and they didn't win as much as they wanted. So games played for him might be the most telling of the Pacers season in one way or another. If I wanted to use a stat that was not just like the boring games played, I would use 3-point percentage here, but it felt very lazy. Like, if you've heard the other stats, I don't want to just like look at the box score and extract one from you, but he shot 30% on threes last year. Like, make some threes. That would be huge for the Pacers. And we'll get more to this in a second. My one skill is offensive rebounding, and really his offensive rebound rate from last year. It was phenomenal. And I talked about this a lot. Furphy would play like real minutes for 3 minutes in a game, and he would always get an offensive rebound, and he would like fly in for it. And I would always say he had a nose for the ball, right? And honestly, it's like a poacher thing in soccer. Like, he just knows how to find it in the box. That's great. In soccer, that leads to goals. So for Furphy, to be more specific, 6.8% offensive rebound rate last year. That doesn't sound high, but league average is 5%. Think about how often a team gets an offensive rebound. Furphy gets 6.8% of them. So to get into more detail there, 6.8%, if Furphy had played enough to be on league leaderboards, would have ranked 29th in the entire NBA, right? A top 30 stat for a rookie 6'8" wing who everybody thought was like a 15-year-old last year, and has clearly added the weight. Before Summer League, he told us about that. Somehow that news made the rounds again this week, which was weird to me because he already told us that months ago. Whatever. Johnny Furphy is a good offensive rebounder. Is that a real thing? That's a crazy high rate. That's like, oh, you only played 379 minutes kind of rate. If he ups his minutes and that holds like in the 6+% range, whew, that is a huge thing for a team that really needs rebounding. For example, guys at about a 6 rebound rate last year, 6 to 7, include Alex Sarr, a center, Josh Hart, considered by some the best rebounding guard in the league, Jabari Smith Jr., a 4, Michael Porter Jr., a 4, Santi Aldama, a 4/5, Victor Wembanyama, 5.7, Al Horford, a center, albeit a perimeter one, 5.2, right? Like, he is above these guys. If he can hold this at all, that's a huge thing for him and the Pacers. And my question is already something I mentioned in the one stat, but now I don't have to use the lazy one stat of his percentage last year. Johnny Furphy, can you shoot? There's clearly something here of like the frameworks of a potentially valuable player. Not afraid to hit somebody, good on the glass, solid enough defender. He made 47.6% of his twos. Again, this is a small sample. He took 42 of them. But like, this guy feels the game pretty well. His turnover rate is pretty low. The stock rates are high. A lot of indicators of like, yep, this is somebody worth trying to make really good because there's something there. And then you look at the threes and you're like, oh, over half his shots are from 3. Took 54.3% of his shots from 3. That's fine as a ratio, but he made 30% of them. That's too low, right? Wings in the NBA have to shoot better than that unless they're like creme de la creme level defenders. And we don't know that Furphy can hit that level on defense. And we don't know that he's only going to be a 30% three-point shooter. It might be much higher than that. But we don't know either side of the ball yet. And that is the biggest question mark about him being like, this is a 9th, 10th guy who can hit the glass and guard and sometimes dribble, and it's okay. Versus like, they should try to find this guy minutes very soon. He can make threes and guard and has a nose for the ball. It's obviously a swing skill for basically everybody, but on the wing especially, it's very valuable. And for a player who's still looking for his path to minutes, it's extra valuable. The Pacers development pipeline has gotten lots of players to become better shooters. Johnny Furphy becoming the next would be huge for the Pacers. All three of these guys developing would be huge for the Pacers. This was a fun one. Three guys I have a lot of interest in this season. Let me know if you think I said something dumb or you think there's a much better and more interesting thing for all three of these guys. I'm on social media at Tony R. East. This podcast has a social media account on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Locked On Pacers. Thank you all so much for listening and watching. Back tomorrow, talking Pacers Killers was going to be a topic last week, and then sicknesses got in the way for me. So tomorrow you can expect that, and then plenty of more fun stuff coming this week. We'll do the shooting guards. We'll talk about the most interesting players on the roster with a perspective outside of Indiana and so much more. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you very soon.